Wrapping it up, back on Sportsbet. Betting Inside today. We finished the NFC East. The Redskins, win total 7.5. Last year, 8-7-1 straight up, 10-6 ATS, 12-4 to the over, 6-3-1 start, 2-4 finish, and the only wins were against the Eagles and the Bears. Remember, Week 17 at home, all they had to do was beat the Giants, who had nothing to play for, and they were in. Couldn't do a damn thing on offense. Mainstream stats, 21 takeaways, 21 giveaways. The offense, 6.4 yards per play, number 2. Only Atlanta was better, 4.5 yards per rush, 7.8 yards per pass attempt. Number 2 in the NFL, tied with the Pats, and 23 sacks allowed. 4th best in the NFL. Not good defensive numbers, though, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about those type of offensive numbers, number 2 in yards per play, number 2 in yards per pass attempt, Cousins, not a lot of negative plays. They didn't have a negative turnover margin. Cousins only took 23 sacks on the season. They were in the top quartile in the NFL in yards per rush. Those are the offensive numbers of a playoff team. So you say, why weren't they a playoff team? Obviously, they couldn't win Week 17 at home against the G-Men, but the defense was pretty darn lousy. 5.8 yards per play allowed, that's bottom quartile. 91.1 opposing QB rating allowed, that was below average. 4.5 yards per rush allowed, that was bottom quartile. The only thing they were okay with on the defensive end was the 38 sacks. But of course, in the offseason, they remade their defensive line and might be a little bit scarier when it comes to a pass rush in 2017 than compared to last year.
In the draft, they went Jonathan Allen and Ryan Anderson from Alabama. They also took Samaje Perine, the running back out of Oklahoma, in the 4th round. Promoting from within. Minuski's the new defensive coordinator, linebackers coach last year. Kavanaugh is the new OC. He was a quarterback coach last year. Cousins was tagged again, and they couldn't work out a long-term deal. He's going to be gone after this year, and it was ugly as Bruce Allen, the team president, lied about actually what they offered him and then called him Kurt 5 times on the team website.
Yeah, that's a little bit embarrassing. But look, there's a fair bit of continuity here for all the worries about Washington and, new OC, new DC. Well, as you mentioned, they promoted from within. There's continuity there. Gruden and Cousins, there's a familiarity there. Cousins very comfortable with Gruden's offense at this stage of his career. And when you talk about Kirk Cousins, even though he didn't sign the long-term deal, over the last 2 years combined, number 4 among all quarterbacks in total QBR and number 6 among all quarterbacks in passer rating. Unfortunately for Cousins, he lost his top 2 receivers in the offseason.
Yeah, had an NFL agent last week tell me he's going to get $30 million a year and $100 million guaranteed. It's the perfect storm as he is set to hit free agency. No Jackson, no Garcon. Pryor's their number 1 guy, along with Crowder and Doxton, the kid from TCU. He's only had 31 snaps in his career so far. The offensive line's back, but, who's he throwing to?
Well, Terrell Pryor was pretty good in a pretty bad situation for Cleveland last year. Can he be the go-to guy for a playoff contender? Maybe. Crowder's been good in the slot. Can he be the number 2 receiver? Maybe. Doxson was a guy who was very highly regarded coming out of college, a real playmaker at TCU. Hasn't played much, got hurt last year. Can he be the 3rd receiver? Maybe. From a pure talent perspective, to say, I'm Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garcon at this stage of his career, at their careers, compared to that trio, not a huge drop-off, but from a proven production standpoint, obviously a very big drop-off. But the one thing we can be confident of is that he's going to have a decent amount of time to throw the football. They have the same starting 5 back on the offensive line. Real good continuity. 4 to the 5 were starters in 2015 as well. Potential top 10 units. Certainly Trent Williams, Brandon Sheriff both made the Pro Bowl last year.
Well, they needed help up front on defensive line because they were 25th in DVOA with rush defense and 27th in yards allowed per carry. Yards per carry allowed, rather.
Yeah, sure. And they really tried to remake the defensive line. It wasn't a real splashy offseason when it came to free agent signings, but they brought in Terrell McClain. They brought in Stacy McGee in free agency, and they dumped the 3 of the 4 starters from last year, including Cullen Jenkins. And then, of course, Jonathan Allen fell into their lap at number 17. Now they have a legit pass rusher for opposing offensive coordinators to be a little bit concerned about. Another free agent signing, J.D. Swearinger in the secondary. He's expected to start at safety. Now the question is, can Josh Norman make any big plays? He didn't make a whole lot of them in the backfield last year, despite signing that big free agent contract.
NFC East plays the AFC West. In the NFC West, 2 extra games, Vikings at home at New Orleans. Tougher than average schedule last year. Tougher than average schedule again this year. Early lean.
Well, it's not an early lean. It's play of the day, man.
Oh, you want to use it? Okay, you do want to use it. All right.
Yeah, it's play of the daytime. Yeah, that was some tough. Well, there was a debate as to whether we were going to use it, but let's use it. The Washington Redskins under 7.5 wins. That's play of the day worthy. What happens to Cousins with all of those veteran receivers that can get open? What happens to Cousins when all of a sudden he starts thinking about that $100 million guaranteed, a little bit more than doing well with Washington? And what happens to Cousins when that schedule gets real tough down the stretch of this year's campaign? He's going to get hit. Redskins under 7.5 wins. That's our play of the day.
Yeah, I like it a lot. We finish out our final division with the AFC West. Good division coming up. That'll do it. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching on SportsBet. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.